In this lesson, we're going to look at the skills of a leader. Now, we just got done talking about the traits of a leader according to 1 Timothy 3. And so, we've kind of looked at what Scripture says about the traits that are required or necessary for leadership. In this lesson, we're going to look at the skills necessary. And it's obviously not an exhaustive list, but just some skills that you're going to need to develop your leadership, to be effective in your leadership. And skills are basically what can you do beyond what you know in your head. What can you actually physically do in the world when you're applying your leadership, when you're interacting with other people? What is it that can you do? One of the most important skills that you need in leadership, probably one of the most important and under-taught skills, is conflict management. Conflict management is a huge part of any leader's repertoire of tools. Every leader needs to know how to deal with conflict. And unfortunately, many of us struggle with conflict just naturally. We don't want to be in conflict. We don't want to be around people in conflict. We don't want people mad at us. And so we kind of avoid conflict. But as a leader, you're going to be in conflict, whether you're involved in the conflict or whether you are just helping others deal with their own conflict. And so just a couple things I want to say about conflict management. The first thing is the keys to conflict management, the things you need to keep in mind when you're dealing with a conflict. And the first one is to keep your emotions in check. Obviously, when there's conflict, everybody has an emotional response. They're emotionally involved in it. 9 out of 10 times, there is emotion involved, whether your emotions are involved or whether someone else's. The thing you need to remember is that you keep your emotions in check, that you keep yourself under control. When our emotions are out of control, running amok, and we're losing control, then we make bad decisions, we say things we don't mean, we hurt people. And so in conflict management, we have to remember that the goal of conflict management is to come to a solution. And the best we can to keep our emotions in check when dealing with conflict, the better off we are going to be to find the solution that works. And so the first one, keeping your emotions in check. The second one is to look at things objectively. Every conflict that you're in, whether especially the ones that you're involved with, you're going to come into it with a certain perspective in mind. Obviously, if you already were on the same page as the other person, then there would be no conflict. But because your point of view is different than theirs, then that's what's creating conflict. And so in order to reach a point of solution, you need, as the leader, to try and see it from their perspective, to see it from their point of view. This will give you the ability to be objective. It takes emotion out of the equation. It allows you to look at the actual facts of the situation. It allows you to not be given into the gossip or the hype or whatever the case may be. It allows you to think clearly and focus in and look at the situation objectively from both sides, whether you're on both sides or not. To be able to look at both sides is important, and so to be able to look at it objectively. And the third thing is to seek a mutual solution whenever possible. Obviously, we want it our way. I want you to agree with me, and I want you to do what I have to say, and when I make this decision, I want you to do what I want you to do. But when there's conflict, we have to be willing to find mutual ground where everybody can find some sort of satisfaction in the decision. Now, it's not always going to be a 50-50 ground. It's not always going to be a 50-50 split. Everybody's not going to walk away from the situation equally happy with what the solution is. But as long as there is some sort of solution that can benefit or at least appease both sides, then that's ideal. Sometimes that's not going to be possible. Sometimes the two sides are so at ends with each other that there is no common ground where a solution can be found. And at that point, we just have to walk away and agree to disagree. I'm not going to see your point of view. You're not going to see mine. that's okay. We'll agree to disagree and walk away. But most times, especially from a leadership perspective and the things you're going to run into in a church or business situation, finding common ground and a mutual solution for both parties is ideal. And for us as leaders, that we are trying always to get to that mutual solution. Again, we may not always be able to do it, but if that's our drive and our purpose, then we will get there more times than not. And so I just wanted to go through a simple process of conflict management. Conflict management is very complex. It's very difficult. There are a lot of facets to it. But I just wanted to give you a quick 4-step process to dealing with conflict. And the first one is, you have a conflict with somebody, so you sit down to deal with it or to hash it out or to process it through. And the first step should be, you speak, I'll listen. So you tell me what you feel. You tell me how you're seeing the situation. You tell me what your perspective is. So you speak, I will listen. You share your emotions with me. And then when you're done with that, then I'm going to reflect back to you what I heard. I'm not going to put in my own opinion. I'm not going to put my own conjecture in it. I'm not going to add any part of me. All I'm going to do is reflect back to you what you said to me. And what this does is it allows me, number one, to make sure that I'm listening and following what you say. But then number two, it also assures you that I'm listening, that I'm paying attention to what you're saying. And when I reflect back to you, you can correct something that's wrong. Maybe I heard something inappropriately or didn't hear it correctly. You can correct that for me. You can say, well, that's not actually what I said, or that's not actually what I meant, and this is really what I was meaning. So you speak, you share your emotions, I will listen, and then I'll reflect back to you what you said. The next step would be the exact repeat of now I'm going to speak and you're going to listen, and I'm going to share my emotions with you, and then you'll reflect back to me what I said. So you've done that, now I've done that. Now we both have some sort of understanding of where the other is. The third step would be to seek a compromise. Okay, you shared your point of view and where you are, and I've shared my point of view and where I am. Where can those two things come together? And if they can't, if there's not common ground yet, well then we repeat. So you then share again, where are we missing? How far away are we from common ground? What are you trying to get me to? And then I'll do the same thing, and we'll come back and we'll try and seek compromise again. And if we can't, then we'll do the process again. The idea is that as we start on two ends of the spectrum, each time we do this process, we're getting closer and closer and closer to understanding one another and coming to some sort of solution and compromise. And the fourth step is when we kind of come to all of that, and we come to a compromise, or maybe we come to an agree to disagree situation, then we both apologize. Because whenever there's conflict, whenever there's some sort of tension between two people, there is always room for an apology. And really, an apology goes way farther than most anything else, even farther sometimes than a solution. An apology is me saying to you, I know that there's tension, I know there's conflict, I value my relationship with you way more than I do being right or getting my way. And so I just want to let you know I'm sorry for upsetting you, I'm sorry for offending you, I'm sorry for hurting you, I'm sorry for whatever it is that I did wrong. And I just want to apologize. Make sure it's heartfelt, make sure it's sincere, make sure you're not just doing it as a formality, because people see right through that. And so, but every conflict should end in both sides apologizing. And your apology should have nothing to do with whether or not I apologize, and vice versa. Because sometimes one person is just not going to apologize. But that doesn't make it okay for you not to. And really, in most senses, it makes you the better person if you're willing to give an honest, sincere apology, even though they may not be able to. So you speak, I listen, and then I reflect. I speak, you listen, you reflect. We seek a compromise. We repeat until we can come to common ground, and then we finally end in apology. That's basic steps for conflict management. The next skill that I wanted to look at this morning, or in this session, is speaking. Obviously, we need to all be able to speak and have good dictation and be able to get our point across and be able to make a difference and get the message out to other people. There are a couple different speaking forms that I wanted to focus on today. The first one is public speaking. It is important that we understand there's a difference between public speaking and intimate speaking. And so the first one we're going to look at is public speaking. When you are a public speaker, and most of you at some point in your life will be, you will be speaking to, whether it be a large crowd, whether it be a small group, whatever the case may be, you will be speaking somewhere. And so the first thing on public speaking is make sure that you let your voice carry. Most people don't exist just outside your mouth. Most people exist out there, especially when you're public speaking. They're far away, and they want to hear you. They are there because they want to know what you have to say. And if you don't give them that opportunity by projecting your voice out, then they could miss out on some pretty good material. I'm hoping that's what you're giving them. And so project your voice. Let your voice carry. Those of you in theater have probably heard, project your voice to the back of the room. If you're trying to make the person in the back of the room hear you, everybody else in between surely will. And so project your voice. The second one is to learn the art of pause. Sometimes we get in this tendency, we just talk, and we 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 talk, and there's no pauses. There's no moment of reflection. There's no moment to let the tension build. There's no moment to bring suspense to the conversation. And so when you're speaking, when you're in a public speaking setting, make sure that when you are trying to make a point, that you use a pause to draw people in and make that point. Learn the art of pause. Pauses are very crucial in a punchline of a joke. Pauses are very crucial in bringing people along an emotional journey with you. Learn how to use the pauses correctly, in the right place, for the right length of time, to get the right effect that you're trying to do. Don't just talk. Don't talk in a steady stream of noise, but make sure you are pausing and making your point heard, because that's how you're going to make an impact in people's lives. So learn the art of pause. The third one is use your face to express your emotion. I'm sure all of us have seen speakers who have a deadpan face. They have no emotion in their face. They have nothing going on. They're just speaking words. And you begin to wonder, do they really believe what they're saying? Or are they just on autopilot and they're just talking? Use your eyebrows. Use your smile. Use your dimples if you have them. Use whatever you have in your face to make an emotion felt. Because when you want somebody to really feel pain, or you want them to feel hurt, or you want them to feel compassion, you have to use your facial expressions to really get that through. Or if you want them to be joyful and happy, and you want them to be so excited about something, you want to make sure that you are expressing that same emotion to them so that they can come along on that journey with you. So use your face to express emotion. The next one, know when to use your hands and when not to. Watching these lectures, I'm pretty sure that it's clear that I use my hands a lot. My hands are kind of all over the place and out of control. And sometimes it's good. It's always good to be able to use your hands properly, but at the same time, you have to be able to use your hands just at your sides. Sometimes you can make a point just by leaving your hands alone. And sometimes you need to make big expressions, and sometimes you need to make really small expressions. Sometimes you need to get somebody to look in a certain direction, or to pay attention here or over there. And sometimes you just need them to focus right here. Use your hands to make an expression, and use them properly, and know when to use them and when not to use them. And then the fifth one, make a point. Make a point. Give substance and not just opinion. Because if all you're giving is an opinion, then it's not very useful every day. Make a point and give them substance. How many people have you listened to speak when they just talk and they talk and they talk and they talk and they never actually make a point? All they're doing is talking. Make sure that when you are speaking that you are making a point and you're giving your people substance, something to work with, something that's going to impact their lives. So that's how to do public speaking. Now, there is public speaking, large crowds, lots of people. There is also private or intimate speaking, which I think in ministry especially and in leadership in general is almost more important than the public speaking. And the reason I say that is because a public speaker is just that, a public speaker. A pastor or a minister is a private, intimate individual in people's lives. If all you're doing is speaking from the stage and you're not knee-deep in the humanity of people, then you are not really in ministry. All you are is a speaker from the stage, a motivational entity, somebody who gives wisdom and guidance from the high tops, but doesn't get down and live in the depths of life with them. And so you want to be both. You want to be a public speaker and an intimate speaker. And so as an intimate speaker, a few things, or an intimate conversationalist, make eye contact. Make sure you look them in the eye. We have a very schizophrenic society right now where we like to look all over the place. We look over here, we look over there, and we look at the person walking in the room, and we look at the person standing up, and we want to see the TV in the corner, and we talk to the people, but we don't see them when we're talking. And we get very used to not paying attention. And we can hear them talking, and a lot of times we catch everything they're saying, but it doesn't make them feel like I'm engaged with them. It doesn't make them feel like I have enough time to devote to them. And so make sure that when you are in an intimate conversation, you're making eye contact with them, and you're making that intimate connection with that individual. They're important. Your time is important, but not as important as that person. And so give your time to that person and make them feel important by making eye contact with them. The second thing is to lean in when being told information, or personal information. When somebody's just talking and joking and hanging out and it's all light and no big deal, it's really easy to just kind of sit back in the chair and laugh and joke and whatever. But when somebody is really pouring their heart out to you, and they're really giving you intimate information about their lives, lean forward. Lean forward, because it makes them feel comforted when you lean forward. It makes them feel like what they're saying is important to you, that it's intimate to you, that they're telling you these things. Make them feel at ease, because it's already hard enough for them to share that personal information and to be intimate. And so make sure that you are reciprocating that by being intimate with them, by leaning forward. And that would go along with look relaxed and engaged when talking casually. So, when somebody's just joking about, the movie they watched or the game that they saw or what happened with their kids, make sure you're not like intently focused and staring at them and like, whoa, wow. That's a little too much. It freaks people out. Lean back. Be at ease. Relax. Put them at ease. Let them feel like this is a relaxing social get-together. It's not an intense meeting. It's time to just hang out. So look relaxed and engage when talking casually. Don't cross your arms. I know a lot of us, that's kind of second nature to us, where we just cross our arms, and it's not anything negative towards the person we're talking to. It doesn't mean anything to us. It's just how we cross our arms. But the problem is that immediately tells the other person that you are closing yourself off. That you're listening. Sure, I'm here. I'm listening. Keep talking. But at the end of the day, you're not really paying. You're not really interested in them. So I know it's a habit for us, but we have to try and break the habit and keep our hands or our arms from crossing. Keep them open. Keep them, engaged with the other person. Try not to cross your arms. It tells them that you are closed off to them. Use reflective listening, kind of the same thing in the conflict management, where I tell you how I feel and you reflect back to me. It's the same thing. When I'm talking or when you're talking to me and I hear what you say, I reflect back to you. So you say, your kids are involved in basketball, and then you follow that up with a question. Well, do they like it? Are they good at it? When's their next game? You reflectively listen to what they're saying. That way they know that you are listening to what they're saying and not just there. So use reflective listening. Find common ground. We talked about that before in the traits where we're trying to find common ground with the people in the community. Same thing here. In intimate conversation, we want to find common ground. You ask questions about them so you can find common ground. You can talk about something they enjoy, they are interested in. It's not about what you're interested in, it's about what they're interested in. So, that also means that it's important to be able to know something about a lot of things. You don't have to be an expert in a lot of things, but you need to be a novice in a lot of things. You be able to have a conversation. I'm not really into cars a whole lot, but I can have a conversation about cars. So you just have to find ways to build that common ground with the people you're having those intimate conversations with. Learn to ask questions well. As somebody's talking to you and you're listening and you're processing the information, have one or two questions ready so that as soon as that conversation is dead in the water, you have another question to follow it up with and to keep that conversation going. People are going to look to you as the leader, or the pastor, the minister, whatever. People are going to look to you to be the one to control the situation or control the conversation. So make sure that you're controlling that. So learn to ask questions well. And be interested in the other person instead of trying to get them interested in you. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. It's about them, it's not you. So we have intimate conversation, we have public speaking, and then the third thing is just be able to learn to tell a story. Telling a story is the greatest common ground that we can create with other people. Learn how to tell a story well. And I'll just give you one key advice on that, something that's helped me, is when I read scripture sometimes, I just read it out loud. I read it with a certain dramatic flair to it because it helps me to know how to tell a story. It helps me to know how to make pauses. It helps me to know when to raise my voice and lower it. It helps me to practice those things. So that when I'm telling a personal story, I'm telling a story about something I've heard, that I'm making sure that I know how to tell a story outside of a monotone way, so that it's engaging and it's fun and it keeps people involved. So learn how to tell a story. The next skill that I wanted to focus on is learn how to read people. Learn how to read what they're telling you, and not just what they're saying, but what's their body language telling you, what's going on in their eyes, what's going on in their emotions. Make sure that you're paying attention to more than just the words. You're digging deep, you're understanding beyond what they're saying, because it's important to be able to read people and assess them and understand them beyond what they're giving you. You always want to seek to trust, but you don't want to trust blindly. So you don't want to mistrust people from the get-go. You want to seek to trust them, but at the same time you have to have the wisdom to not just trust blindly just because they're in your church or they want to be a part of your church or whatever the case is. You have to make sure that you're not trusting blindly, but that you're seeking to understand who they are and making an assessment on them and how much you can trust them, how much you can engage with them. Because at the end of the day, this world, has its challenges, and for people in ministry, there are people looking to take you down. There are people looking to get you caught up in a lie, or they'll create stuff about you to get you to lose your position, whatever. So the thing is to make sure that you're not trusting blindly. So pay attention to body language. Pay attention to facial expressions. Pay attention to the intangible things that are going on outside of the conversation, beyond the words that are being given to you. And then the fourth skill that I want to talk about today is to be decisive. Be decisive. Leadership is all about making decisions. You will make more decisions as a leader in your vocational settings than you will in your everyday life. Choosing what toothpaste to use and when to brush your teeth and those things. You have lots of decisions just in your own self-management, but in a leadership position, you make so many decisions in a day that you don't even realize. And most of them carry more weight than your everyday personal hygiene management decisions do. And so, so you have to be able to make a decision and be decisive about it and be ready to move forward once that decision is made. So a couple things on how to make those decisions. Weigh options and be able to make a decision. Know how to weigh the options. Don't just go and blindly make a decision without understanding what your options are. You need to know at least 1, 2, preferably 3 options of how you can tackle this situation or how you can move forward. So you weigh each one of them. Which of the 2 or the 3 are my best options? And then once you choose that, then you move forward. The second thing is we all have obstacles with this, and so we have to make sure to know how to remove those obstacles in our own lives. Some of us doubt ourselves, some of us are timid, some of us are too worried about what other people think, some of us, we don't want to deal with the consequences or we can't shoulder the responsibility. Whatever the case is, you know what your issues are, what your obstacles are in decision making. You have to figure out what those are, and you have to figure out how to get beyond that or get over it or get around them or get them out of the way. Because you as a leader have to be decisive. If you aren't decisive, you won't be a leader for very long. It's important that you are a decisive leader. And then the last thing I'll say about that is don't be too quick to decide. Hasty decisions have very dangerous consequences a lot of times. And remember, as a minister, as a leader, you have other people's lives in your hands. You're making decisions based on them, for them, and that will impact them and even their personal lives. Don't make hasty decisions that are uninformed and ill-hatched. Make sure you're making good, quality, wise decisions. Ask God for wisdom. Scripture says that He will give wisdom to whomever asks for it. Make sure you are asking for wisdom from God daily to make those very crucial decisions with wisdom and understanding and guidance and direction from Him. So those are just a few key skills that you're going to need as a leader moving forward. That if you will master these 4 skills, you're going to be a pretty strong leader. From this day on, it's important that you know how to do these 4 things and do them well. And if you can do those, you're going to be a pretty effective leader in the years to come. And so make sure that you are developing yourself to become the leader God's called you to be.